God's love might be big, it might be powerful, it might be important, it might have the ability to do things that nothing else can do. But until it is received, until it is experienced, until a heart feels it, it isn't wondrous. Love can't be wondrous until love is received, until love is felt and experienced. Hear now a story in which someone has truly understood what makes love wondrous.
One of the Pharisees asked Jesus to have dinner with him. So Jesus went to his home and sat down to eat. When a certain immoral woman from that city heard he was eating there, she brought a beautiful alabaster jar filled with expensive perfume. Then she knelt behind him at his feet, weeping. Her tears fell on his feet, and she wiped them off with her hair. Then she kept kissing his feet and putting perfume on them. When the Pharisee who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, "If this man were a prophet, he would know what kind of woman is touching him. She's a sinner." Then Jesus answered his thoughts. "Simon," he said to the Pharisee, "I have something to say to you." "Go ahead, teacher," Simon replied. Then Jesus told him this story. A man loaned money to two people, 500 pieces of silver to one and 50 pieces to the other. But neither of them could repay him, so he kindly forgave them both, canceling their debts. Who do you suppose loved him more after that? Simon answered, "I suppose the one for whom he canceled the larger debt." "That's right," Jesus said. Then he turned to the woman and said to Simon, "Look at this woman kneeling here. When I entered your home, you didn't offer me water to wash the dust from my feet, but she has washed them with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You didn't greet me with a kiss, but from the time I first came in, she has not stopped kissing my feet. You neglected the courtesy of olive oil to anoint my head, but she has anointed my feet with rare perfume. I tell you, her sins, and they are many, have been forgiven. So she has shown me much love. But a person who is forgiven little shows only little love." Then Jesus said to the woman, "Your sins are forgiven." The men at the table said among themselves, "Who is this man that he goes around forgiving sins?" And Jesus said to the woman, "Your faith has saved you. Go in peace."
Could we within the oceans fill, and were the sky of parchment made, were every reed on earth a quill, and every man a scribe by trade, to write the love of God above, would drain the oceans dry. The scroll could not contain the whole, though stretched from sky to sky.
It's surprisingly easy to lose track of love. Things are great when you have it. They're great when you understand it, when you're feeling it, when you're receiving it and giving it, and it's part of the overall narrative in which you are engaged. But once love starts to disappear, or rather, once you start to turn away from it, to look away from it, to lose track of love, most things become pretty worthless. It has a very profound and wide effect on almost every aspect of life when we lose track of love. For example, losing track of love has a horrible effect on authority, on your relationship with authority or your use of authority. If you're a parent, you know this. There's this easy thing that can happen where you lose track of the love that you have for your own child, and you start to lean into the authority you have over them instead, and the relationship deteriorates. The same can happen between citizens and a government. When love is lost between the citizens and the government, whether it's from the government to the citizens or from the citizens to the government, the relationship deteriorates. When we lose track of love, it has a massive, widespread negative effect, not just on authority, but also on the way that we treat and consider commodity. Money becomes something that isn't really useful as much as something that we want to have, something that we need to have. Greed takes the place of love when we lose track of love and we're holding on to some money. Food or clothing or the basic necessities of life become inconveniences, become problems, and providing them to others becomes a burden when we lose track of love. Losing track of love affects the way that we interact with authority, it affects the way that we interact with commodity, and it affects the way that we interact with accuracy, with the pursuit of saying things that are true and right and correct. When we lose track of love, when it comes to accuracy, we start to focus on being right for the sake of being right, instead of being right for the sake of being loving. We start to focus on accuracy for its own sake in place of love, and that, in fact, all of these lead to a place where we're focusing on all these parts, the truth, the authority, the commodity, you name it. When we've lost track of love, the big umbrella over them all, the thing that matters most, and we start to focus on each one of these little things that are profoundly influenced by whether or not love is truly present, we find ourselves in a situation where we're walking through an empty, desolate, barren garden, looking for flowers and finding none. What's true, what's right, what's real is that love is the work of gardening. Love gets down on its hands and knees and does the digging and the planting and the caring and the watering. Love is the careful process, the day-to-day showing up and being there and doing what it takes with a generous heart that yields over time a big, beautiful, blooming garden. All of the other things line up. All of the other things can exist when love is happening carefully, when love is happening at all. It must be tended lovingly for there to be good relationships with authority. It must be tended lovingly for there to be a right approach to commodity among people. It must be tended lovingly for there to be a good use of truth and accuracy. It's no surprise that it's easy to lose track of love. We see it all around us, and it's been predicted forever. Jesus himself said that there would be a time when the love of most would grow cold. It was a dire and sad prediction, and I hope that it isn't true about you. I hope that you can be one with the help of God through His Word, by His Spirit. I hope that you can be one whose love is warm, whose love offers care, whose love is something that other people want to come up to and warm up by. And I hope that you can avoid the opposite of love, which isn't really hate or meanness or greed or some of those things we've talked about so far. It's something different. It's apathy. Apathy avoids all the things that love caringly and willingly and never begrudgingly goes after. Apathy will lead you to avoid opportunities to be extra kind, to go the extra mile for somebody else. Apathy will cause you to avoid having those sometimes difficult but regularly valuable conversations that can make a difference not only in another person's life, but more importantly, in your relationships with those people. Apathy will drive you away from considering the needs of others in the ways that you function and the impact you have on the world and the choices you make as a consumer. Apathy will lead you to avoid that which is true. And it will cause you to stop communicating that which is true, not for the sake of the truth, not for the sake of being right, but for the sake of the people with whom you are given the opportunity to speak. And if you're given the opportunity to speak to someone, rest assured, and don't miss it, you are given the opportunity to love. That's why it's so important to make sure that in your life you are receiving love in the biggest, broadest ways possible. That as you look at God and your relationship with Him, that relationship be defined by the love that you are receiving from a God who wants to give it to you. This is why, and we'll close with this, in Ephesians chapter 3, the Apostle Paul wanted to make sure that those who read these words would never miss the importance of being established in love. Here are his words, Ephesians chapter 4, starting at verse 14. For this reason I kneel before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth derives its name. I pray that out of His glorious riches He may strengthen you with power through His Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. And I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power, together with all the Lord's holy people, to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God.
Jesus, your boundless love to me, no thought can reach, no tongue declare. Unite my thankful heart to thee, and reign without a rival there. To you alone, dear Lord, I live. Myself to you, dear Lord, I give. Myself to you, dear Lord, I give. Oh, grant that nothing in my soul may dwell but your pure love alone. Oh, may your love possess me whole, my joy, my treasure, and my crown. All coldness from my heart remove, my every actward thought be love, my every actward thought be love. This love unwearied I pursue, and dauntlessly to you aspire. Oh, may your love my hope renew, burn in my soul like heavenly fire, and day and night be all my care, to guard the sacred treasure there, to guard the sacred treasure there. In suffering be your love my peace, in weakness be your love my path, and when the storms of life shall cease, oh Jesus, in that final hour, be then my rod and staff and guide, and draw me safely to your side, and draw me safely to